Good morning and welcome back to First Take. Miami Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill was detained by police Sunday outside Hard Rock Stadium for a driving violation, but was released from custody before Miami's game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Hill said he was pulled over for allegedly speeding roughly 3 hours before the game kicked off. He was ultimately placed in handcuffs after a verbal altercation occurred and was cited for reckless driving. He scored a touchdown on an 80-yard pass play from Tua in the third quarter, appeared to reenact his detainment to celebrate his touchdown. Fellow wide receiver Jalen Waddle walked behind as Hill held his arms behind his back like he was in handcuffs. Hill finished the Dolphins' 2017 victory with 130 yards, receiving on 7 receptions. Tyreek, however, wants to turn this into a positive.
Right now, I'm still trying to put it all together. So I'm not going to give you a version that I still don't know what happened. You know what I'm saying? But I do want to say, I do want to be able to use this platform to say, like, what if I wasn't Tyreek Hill, bro? Like, worst case scenario, you know, because it's crazy. Like, I want to be a cop one day. I got a state trooper, had all that, you know, so I got a lot of respect for cops, man. But obviously, you know, everybody has bad apples in every situation.
I'm driving to the game. The lane I'm in is blocked off. I see Tyreek, in handcuffs. I seen it, feel like it was excessive force. So then I get out the car, kind of just trying to de-escalate the situation. And I think the officer, I don't know why he felt the need to put me in handcuffs, but it is what it is.
I'm just glad that my teammates were there to like support me in that situation because I felt alone, and when they showed up, it made me realize that we got a good team this year, dog.
All right, it's great to have Calais Campbell joining us now live on First Take. Calais, thank you so much for being with us this morning. Obviously, yesterday must have been a whirlwind, to say the least. How would you describe what transpired?
Yeah, it was definitely a first. I'm driving to work like I always would, the lane's blocked off, and I'm kind of figuring out why is the lane blocked off? It shouldn't be. And then I see Tyreek in handcuffs. So I'm like, oh, it's a big deal. We're getting ready to go to a ball game. This is not normal. And then, they were, being real physical with him. So I get out the car thinking like, I don't know if I have the ability to de-escalate this, but I'm gonna try because this is somebody I care about. It's a friend of mine. And so the officer, was like, get back, get back. So I'm following and complying and doing everything he tells me to do. But I just wanted to make sure that I was there in support of my teammate, especially as a black man in America, and just all the different things that happen with police officers and situations. When I see excessive force, I'm like, hey, this is not okay. So I'm trying to step in there and trying to figure out what I can do to help. And then, officer, there was really, of all officers there was really just one guy that was extreme. Everybody else was, seemed like they were, just doing what they were supposed to do. But the one officer that was a little bit elevated, told me I wasn't listening to him, so he put me under, and detained me as well, put me in handcuffs. And then after a conversation, he took my license, he let me go. And we were able to go and play football. But it just was a crazy situation, definitely unnecessary. And, just you don't expect things like that to happen when you're at the stadium on your way to work. We're there already. We're turning into the stadium. You can't get no closer to work without being there.
Well, Calais, thank you for being on the show. 2 questions here. Number one, when you say that they were being, using excessive force, I'd like you to be specific with our audience exactly what you saw that makes you say that, number one. And number two, when you got out the car to address the officer in the situation, what did you say and how did you identify yourself to the officers before he put you in handcuffs?
Yeah, so, they were trying to yank him down to the ground. And so, like, I saw him, kick him and pull him down, pulling the cuffs, shoulders looked like they're messing up. They kind of got him down. I felt like the one officer was pushing on his head and just was like completely unnecessary. And so, I got out, I had my hands up like this, approaching, and I'm just telling them like, hey, I'm a friend of his. I don't know what's going on here, but I think the situation is definitely unnecessary. And they told me immediately to back up. And then the officer who was elevated came to me. He was telling me I had to leave. I stood there for about 5 more minutes, and told him I stand where you want me to stand. Wherever you tell me how far I back up, I'll back up, but I'm not leaving the scene. This is my friend here. I'm here to support him. I'm not leaving. And he said, well, if you don't leave, I'm gonna tow your car. I said, you can tow my car. I'm gonna stay right here. I'm not leaving. And then, a little bit back and forth of, you're blocking traffic. And I think I responded to him like, you can tow my car. I don't feel like I'm blocking traffic. And he's like, that's it. You're under arrest. Puts me in handcuffs. And, Tyreek's there, obviously feeling distressed. And, Jonnu Smith was there as well on the other side in front of him. And I was behind him. And he's like telling Jonnu, don't leave me, man, don't leave me. And he's, talking to me. And it's just like, he's in an extreme situation that I don't think he should have been in. It was completely unnecessary. And so, like, I'm here for you. We got your back. If they take us to jail, they take us to jail, but we're going to do this together.
Hold on, Shay, did you tell them that you both were members of the Miami Dolphins? Just throwing that out there, just asking.
I did not mention that, but I think it was obvious by the time I was in the situation.
Okay. Go ahead, Shay.
You said something very interesting. Calais, you said something very interesting. You said the moment that they put you in handcuffs, Jonnu Smith is there, and Tyreek says, don't leave me, don't leave me. When you heard him say that, what was the feeling that you felt that you hear your teammate, a black man in America, under that kind of duress or under that kind of stress to hear, don't leave me, as if a child is asking a parent not to leave them going to school or not to leave them at the center. To hear him say that.
Yeah, I think it's more of a brother. It's a brother saying like, "Hey, man, like I'm in a tough spot, man. I need you here with me." And growing up in America, my dad always taught me like, "Hey, when you interact with the police officers, always comply, and always let them know that you're not a threat." So that's the first thing I did. But it was also like, "Hey, we got to look out for each other, and we got to be there for each other because these situations can escalate, quickly."
Why was he being detained? Were you offered any explanation?
No, the officer didn't want any questions. He just, he didn't want us to be there, and I just told him I'm not leaving. Whatever I have to deal with, I'll handle that, but I'm not leaving I didn't say my team, I said my friend. I'm not leaving them, and so, it's just one of those situations where I think the guy was elevated and hostile. And so I just told myself like, hey, just take your time, breathe through it, but be there and be supportive.
Calais, let me ask you this: when did the Miami Dolphins get notified of, or do you have any knowledge at all when they found out about this incident? Because I remember, again, so many people have brought up the comparisons between Scotty Scheffler in Georgia when he was cuffed and taken away. The flip side to it, however, Tyreek ended up getting to the game. You ended up getting to the game. How did that happen where they ultimately let you guys out of handcuffs and you got to get to the game?
Yeah, so the first thing I did when I got there was call team security. Jonnu also called team security, and I was told earlier that Tyreek, right where he was getting pulled over, called team security. So it just took them a while to get there just because they're trying to figure out where we were exactly. And then just trying to go fighting through traffic because it's all the gang traffic, getting to where we're at. But by the time team security got there, that's when everything was resolved,
So, you know what?
Calais.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Shay.
I was going to ask him, Calais, teams normally ask you to be to the game 2 hours before the game. So the game, Miami, I'm assuming is going to probably start about 1:05, 1:07 kickoff time. About approximately what time was it? Were you like 2 hours and 10 minutes? Were you 2 hours exactly? Or were you running late? It's going to probably be cutting it a lot closer than what you normally would.
Yeah, no, I wasn't running late for arriving to the game, just later than I want to for my schedule, because, as a little older, I got to take a little longer to get home. So I pulled up. It was about 10:18. It was about 10:18 I pulled up. And by the time everything got resolved and we headed to the stadium, it was 10:45. So he was in handcuffs for a long while.
How was Tyreek afterwards? I'm not talking about after the game, but after the incident itself. We saw how spectacular he was come game time, that 80-yard touchdown and all of that. But immediately after that, what was it like being around him as you were entering the stadium in the immediate aftermath of what transpired?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I was, after you got handcuffs off of him, I was still there. At that point in time, Odell Beckham had pulled up as well. So it was me, Odell, and Jonnu, and Tyreek, came over. And he was, frustrated, flustered. He said he wasn't playing. He was going through a lot of emotion. Drew Rosenhaus had walked up at that point in time as well. And then, he went and talked with Drew and our team security was also Drew. And then, we're instructed to go and get ready for the game. So we tell off, but we wanted to make sure he was good and out of cuffs before we left. So once he was out of cuffs and was good, we all went to the locker room. And then once we got in the locker room, I mean, everybody was talking about it. It was just kind of that thing where everybody trying to figure out what happened. So we're all kind of explaining it. Tyreek was, obviously still frustrated, but he definitely was, just kind of collecting himself. He sat in his locker for a long time, not moving, just kind of just sitting there in the spots. And then he finally got ready, and went out there and had a great game, which was crazy impressive because I don't know how many people can go through what he went through and still go out there and ball like that. I mean, he's one of one.
Absolutely. Calais, before we let you go, what would you want to say to any young kids that are watching that might find themselves in a situation like this and aren't members of the Miami Dolphins and having team security coming?
Yeah, I think it's important for us to always, just be there and be supportive. When you see somebody going through a situation where they're getting arrested, always, show up and be supportive. I know you think about like, Nation of Islam back in the day, and my dad used to always tell me that like, he would go up and when people are getting arrested, just be there and make sure that nothing illegal was happening. And then when you're going through the process, just just know that if you go through it, you do it the best you can, try to comply as best you can. Sometimes officers, most of them are really good people. The large majority of them are really good people. But sometimes you'll come across a bad apple and you just got to deal with it. And, hopefully everything comes out on top, be okay. But, when you come across a bad apple, report it, and hopefully you can get them off the force and, keep it moving.
Yeah. Calais, always knew you were a high character guy. Just another example. Thank you so much for the
Thank you,
time
man.
this morning.